Hi and welcome. This is the fourth video in our video series about Google activities. And today we are going to switch over to Google Drive activities. So you're going to learn how to create a new folder statically, how to create a new folder dynamically, how to create a new file as well, and how to share the file with other users. So yeah, let's go over the activities and let's showcase how do they work. So for the first activity, which is the create spreadsheet, you can see that it's actually under the Google Sheet activities, but don't be confused. This is a Google Drive activity and you will see that it's pulling the connection from Google Drive. So just to make sure that you understand how everything is working, we went over to integration service, and then in the integration service connections you would create a Google Drive connection. So essentially it's that simple. You would click connect, you would select the already logged in account, and that would be it. You would have your Google Drive account connected. Now UiPath is keeping that connection alive, so you don't have to worry about anything. Okay, so that's for the intro. So the first activity is going to be the create spreadsheet activity. So if we drag and drop the create spreadsheet activity, you will see that the connection is our Google Drive connection. And now we can select the folder where we want to create the file. So we're going to select our Google Sheet tutorial folder, and this is going to be a new file. So let's just delete this one and let's run only this activity. So you will see that this is called static, and that's for a reason, and that is because this is a static value from already selected file. What we can do also is we can create dynamical files where we can, so let me just showcase you. This file actually was created and you can see that this is a sheet 1. So essentially this is something that we can use. So first sheet name, you can select it however you want to. Save spreadsheet for later. This is also something really important, because if you remember if you watched my previous videos, you will know that we have the sheet ID, and that sheet ID is like a unique identifier for the sheet. So this is create spreadsheet essentially will have information about that ID, because sometimes you have a use case where you need to create an ID and then you need to fill out that file with certain data. So you would need that ID for Google Drive activities. Now we can use the dynamical one. So essentially the folders also have the ID, and this is also unique, which you can use in order to work dynamically, right? So you can see that this is actually my folder ID, and if we put in the folder ID, so we can clear this out, right? You can use folder ID and you can use, you can write it in here. So if you use it like that, let's delete this one, or not delete it, let's comment it out. If you use it like this, then you will create a new file. Also, there are few additional properties that you can use, and let's see which are they. So if we click on the drop down, we can modify how the activity should behave in certain places. So if the file under the same name exists, then we can replace it. If the file already exists, we don't replace it. We can rename it and we can add it as a separate file. What's really interesting is that unlike the files on our file system, we can have Google Sheets under the same name, because it essentially what is different between the sheets is this ID. So this ID is the difference between the sheets. So we can create a file under the same name and it's going to have the separate ID, and it's going to be different by that ID. Okay, and let's run it until here, because I want to showcase you. So this is actually like an output, and if I click it in here, you can see that this is a type of Google Drive remote item. So it has a lot of information about that drive. It has an information about, for example, the created date, the extension, the full name of it, the is it a folder, name parent ID, but we are interested currently in the ID. So this ID will enable us to work with that file however we want to work with the file, right? So let's run this, and you will see that the file under the name created from UiPath dynamically is going to be created in our folder that we defined, right, under the sheet 1 with no data. Okay, so that is essentially like how this is working. So let's just let's showcase that if the file exists as is added as a separate file, and let's just showcase that this is actually working as intended. We are going to run the activity again, and you will see that the same file was created. But what is the difference? This file has one ID and this file has another ID. So these IDs are actually what's different between the files, and you need to take into consideration of that, because you can mess up and you can have different files and someone can work on one file and you will, for example, if you're reading the files down, then it can be confusions if you're returning the name of the files, and that is something that we're also going to cover. Okay, the next activity that I want to showcase is the create folder activity. So essentially, like, the create folder activity is just going to create a folder. So if we right click and new folder, it's exactly that. We can also like use the navigation, so we can use the Google Sheet tutorial folder, or we can use the folder ID. It's the same. And if we create a folder, it is also going to generate an output variable, and that output variable is going to have an ID. So that's also important. For example, I'll showcase this. We're going to create a folder, and in that folder ID we are going to create a new file, and then yeah, that's it essentially. Let's put a breakpoint in here, and let's comment out this activity as well, and I think that this one should be commented out as well, and then create folder. This one I'm removing the breakpoint and I'm running the bot. So essentially, like, this will create a folder and it will create one file in that folder. So if we click on the file in the folder, we will see that it was created, and this is also like the same name, but you can see that the ID is different. Okay, now I also want to showcase, so these activities are pretty simple, but they're also really important. Keep in mind that all of these informations that I'm showcasing can be dynamically written using the variable, and that we should essentially use that. We can, for example, what I do is that I create a subset of files that I'm working with in like a separate account, and then because like I cannot go and click on the files I have the thousands of files, right? So I create that subset of files, I put it in one account, I work with them, and then I dynamically change the IDs. Okay, so we also have for each file or folder in a folder, right? So if we run this activity, you will see that it's going to connect to our Google Sheet. Oops, it's not going to work because it's going to give us an exception. So let's put these in here. Oh, sorry, I skipped one of the activities, and the activity is share file or folder. So this is a really cool activity. So for example, if I go to my example file, and let's close all of these, you can see that this file, I have access to it, but for example, my other account doesn't have access to it. So if I go and run this activity, so this is essentially like share file or folder, I will give it like, and you can see that all of the properties are here. So I will select the connection, I will put in the ID, and remember that both folders and files have IDs. I will share it with the user. You can share it with user, group, domain, or anyone. And then you can also like give it an ownership, write, commentator, or reader access. So in this situation, we want to give it a write access. We don't want to send an email notification, and the recipient is this one, and you can put multiple the recipients in. So if we run this activity, and only that activity, and I'll open the file after that, you will see that we actually got access to that file. So this was the file and this was the account, and now you can see that I have the account. So for example, if you have a large system like I do, and if you need 5 accounts to have access to each of the files that you created, at the end of your workflow, you can use this activity and share it with all the accounts that you have, or a group of the users or similar. This is really super and really powerful, because sometimes we need multiple accounts to be accessing the same files. That is the whole point of Google Sheets. Okay, so I think that I'm done with the current setup. I don't want this video to be too long. In the next video I'm going to cover, in the next videos we're going to cover the for each file or folder activities, the get file or folder activities, copy file, move file, and upload file activities. So we're going to finish up what is the rest of the Google Drive activities. I'm really hoping that these videos are helping someone. If they are, please leave a like and please subscribe. So until the next time, thank you for watching and goodbye.